Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hey there, welcome back.
So we're going to start out over here. We see that there was a loud boom and shaking in South Charlotte, and it wasn't an earthquake. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich says the shaking wasn't caused by a quake. So what caused it? Well, they don't know is the bottom line. There's been a lot of mysterious booms, especially over the last 2 or 3 years. And here we see that we had another one overseas in the UK. Popley residents baffled by a loud bang that shook the ground. And it comes to mind because, like Cindy and I last week, there was a series of 3 booms that really felt like a bombing run or something. They were loud and big that we experienced. We were talking to a family member down in Florida over on the West Coast that was saying that she was feeling like the earth shaking at regular intervals. It feels like something is going on here.
I know it does. And, when I think about these booms or I ask about what are they, I'm getting some kind of strange earth-related, earth-changing information here.
Yeah, it does feel like something's coming. I think there's multiple things coming. We know there's a lot of geopolitical tension going on. We've been talking about that, talking about the Ukraine and Russia, talking about China, Taiwan, and of course, all that has been going on forever in the Middle East and Israel and Iran. And we've seen tons and tons of earth changes. Feels like there's something coming. I don't know what this is though, but I feel like something's coming. And it does feel like, who knows, maybe we are going to be seeing some seriously large quakes or something more along the lines of like a VEI 6 or 7 eruption somewhere.
Yeah, I know. We've been talking to some people that are regulars, and they're like, okay, this is happening to me, and this has never happened to me before. So, what's up with this? And I do feel that they're picking up on the earth changes.
Well, one thing that's happening is we're all getting more intuitive for the most part, as long as we're not being, having our intuitive abilities blocked by many things, and we've touched on that before. In these times, our abilities are going to go through the roof. And we had an interesting conversation today with somebody that was truly having experiences that are what you might call living twice at once or living in 2 different worlds. Basically, starting to experience what it is to be a multidimensional being, which is our natural state of being if we didn't have everything going on that we do have going on. And, for those of you that want to increase your psychic abilities, your perceptive abilities, there's some things to be avoided. And number 1 is BIGPHARMA. That's number 1 on the list. Really decalcify your pineal gland. There's lots of different things. We'll get into that in another video. There's lots of different things to do, but avoid fluoridated water. Stop eating processed foods, avoid the junk foods, the GMO foods, and focus on organic vegetables as much as possible.
Well, yeah, I mean, this information that you put into your body is going to become a human being. So if you have processed foods with a lot of sugar and stuff in them, what kind of quality of a 3D being is that going to make?
Yeah, and so we could realize things left-brained, but we won't have those other abilities if we are partaking in excessive amounts. Even little bits do affect us. And the consciousness of the planet's changing as we're looking at the Schumann resonance, power 49. You can see a spike there. And the Earth is going to ascend one way or another, with or without us. Preferably with us, or with as many as possible. And we see the KP index is up to 5 again, second day there. Most definitely an increase in sun activity that we've been seeing. And we were talking about the CME incoming. And all this affects consciousness as well as obviously the earth changes. And here we see solar cycle 25 is arriving ahead of schedule. You probably think solar cycle 25 is a dud. Think again. Despite long stretches of spotless quiet, the new solar cycle is actually running ahead of schedule. In this plot, the red curve shows NOAA's predicted sunspots counts for cycle 25. The orange curve shows the new best fit. So the sun is performing as we expected, maybe even a little bit better, says Lisa Upton of Space Systems Research Corporation. She's the co-chair of the NOAA-NASA Solar Cycle 25 Prediction Panel. In 2019, the panel predicted solar cycle 25 would peak in July of 2025, plus or minus 8 months, with a maximum sunspot count of 115, plus or minus 10. Current behavior of the sun is consistent with an early onset near the beginning of the predicted range. If the current trend holds, solar cycle 25 could peak as early as 2024. Similar in strength to the relatively weak cycle, solar cycle 24, that preceded it. Don't be fooled by the adjective, however. It's like hurricane season. Even a weak season produces hurricanes. Yeah, just look at Hurricane Michael in Florence. Look at Florence, category 1, but it just stalled.
Right.
And look what it did. So, yeah, interesting, the stuff we are seeing here. And Antarctica's Doomsday, quote-unquote, glacier close to the tipping point. Unmanned sub reveals. The glacier could be melting at key points anchoring it to the land. This is on the western Antarctic shelf. So, sea ice, if it melts, it doesn't change sea level. Ice on land, if it melts and flows into the ocean, that changes the level. I mean, we had a couple people before making comments, not understanding, I guess, that, if you're talking about the shelf, like the western Antarctic shelf, it's on land. So if that melts, and especially if the underpining, which is anchoring it to the land,
switching
melts.
gears and back here at home, a big boom mystery to talk about here. A lot of you heard it or felt it in South Charlotte today.
Love how these just pop up on their own at whatever time they want to. So, getting back to this, if the underpining melts, then the shelf can slide into the water. And there's a glacier in Alaska, I should say, that is moving at a very fast rate, much faster than it had been in the past. And if this goes into the ocean, it could raise sea level by 3 meters, or about 10 feet. And we were talking to a family member in Florida, and she's at 7 feet. So where would she be? Right? I mean, where I was living in Nokomis was at 6 or 7 feet. So that would be underwater, guys. So in West Antarctic Shelf, by the way, is the shelf. That's the side that has so much new volcanic activity that they recently discovered. So that's all very, very interesting. Gets me thinking about Edgar Cayce saying, that Northern Europe will be changed in the twinkling of an eye. Well, something like that happens. Sea levels rise 10 feet. It's going to change a lot of coastlines in the twinkling of an eye.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit soggy.
Yes. What do you get from the guides if you ask them about this? And is this something that could happen anytime, or more like a few years, a decade, longer than a decade?
Longer than a decade. They're telling me between 20 and 30 years is the most likelihood, as long as there's no artificial flavoring involved.
Yes, I love saying that. Artificial flavoring may be involved.
Yes.
Elevated seismicity and deformation at the summit of Mauna Loa. It's the biggest active volcano in the world in Hawaii. And we were talking to one of our family members in Hawaii today, too, as well. And, of course, we all hear about Kilauea, but Mauna Loa is the big sister. And while the largest volcano on Earth, Mauna Loa is not erupting, but rates of deformation and seismicity on the summit remain slightly elevated and above long-term background levels, as well as having a series of quakes lately. Something to watch over there. And meanwhile, lava activity at Kilauea confined to Halemaumau, and it's erupting on the northwest side of the crater. So we've been talking about that right along. Activity at Kilauea. Will we have activity at Mauna Loa? It's a big question. Meanwhile, taking a look at the eruption on Soufriere in St. Vincent's, where the ash did make it, not only to Barbados, but really is up in that atmosphere where it can be carried on. As you can see here, it's going all the way over into Africa. So, it's affecting 2 continents. And events like this, especially around the equator, can lead to global cooling.
Yes, they can. So this is something we're watching close.
And especially even more powerful ones, which may be coming with everything that we have been seeing. And all that also adds to what we have, which is tons of rain. And they have tons of rain in Peru. As you see, severe flooding damages more than 3,000 homes in Peru. And, Peru, beautiful country, fascinating history, a hidden history in there. Possible entrances to the inner earth. And also, a lot of amazing vistas because of the mountains, but tons of landslides too. And when you have flooding like this, it's going to just add to that.
Yes, it is.
And meanwhile, Beijing is engulfed by a 3rd major dust storm in 5 weeks in China. I gotta wonder, is there a little... We know there's tit for tat going on right now between the USA and Russia as far as expelling diplomats. Is there artificial flavoring tit for tat going on as well?
I think it's sort of kind of everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, horrible air quality there. Meanwhile, over in Moscow, we have them breaking 140-year temperature records. Unusually warm conditions. Interesting. Very interesting. As you see, people enjoying true spring-like days over in Moscow. And we have ridiculously heavy spring snow breaking branches, causing power outages in Colorado. And by the way, I saw an article that was rating the states, and it was the people of the states rating the states themselves. And Hawaii came out to be the #1 best state in the country, which, I think a lot of people would agree Hawaii might be the nicest to live in. You can't argue with the weather. Absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. #2 was Colorado.
Interesting.
Lightning strikes kill 4 people in 24 hours across Nepal as the plasma discharges are getting stronger.
Yeah, that's really concerning, those plasma discharges. I've been watching those for a couple years, and it does seem like they're creeping up.
Yeah, it's all a sign of the changing times that are underway here. Strange blue structures glow on Mars in new NASA image. The North Pole of Mars looks even more alien than blue, does it not? What are they trying to say here?
I don't know. They keep trying to say these things about Mars being a dead planet, but then, I don't know, certain things keep appearing, like water, mountain ranges, stuff like that.
Yeah, little clues and hints like, hey, Mars might have as much water under the surface as Earth does.
Yeah, it might.
So are the Martians, swimming in underground lagoons right now as we speak?
I think they're in tunnels, but you never know.
Could be. Very, very interesting stuff. So this is something that was put together, and it's actually a map where it's reflecting temperatures. So it's a false color heat map. So not necessarily indicating that there's, lakes of frozen ice sitting there. But at the same time, it's the intention. And I think their intention is to wake us up slowly and surely. But, there's always going to be a twist. Just like, oh gosh, we have these news services that would say no spin zone.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's nothing but a spin zone on this planet from all the official sources of information.
Well, they want to control all the information. They know it's going to come to us eventually, but they want us.
Switching gears and back here at home, a big boom mystery to talk about here. A lot of
our information.
So guys, thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Anybody that needs to reach out to us, make an appointment, it's evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail or EEARTS@protonmail.com. We're about 2 weeks out as far as scheduling, but there's always, people that reschedule too. just to let you guys know, thanks again for being part of the family. And Cindy's going to give us a ding.
Yes, we're going to do the weighted fork again, so it's silent, but that was a really good response out of the last crowd. I'm curious to see what you guys feel.
And again, this is for repatterning, which means this is a key one for putting you back in alignment with the higher self.
Yes. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed it.
God bless and namaste.
Namaste.